Hey, what's good with the YouTube? It's your boy Rojo, and this is the Rojo Room. So I've been getting asked by a few people what what they look for. They meaning the organizations, the big three. What do they look for in potential new recruits? And so I want to take a few minutes to break it down and give you my perspective, as each individual is going to be a different person, obviously. And they may be looking for different things, man. But the rule of thumb is it's pretty simple. What can you contribute financially? What are your resources? What do you have access to that may be an asset to them? If you're a hustler out there on the streets, if you're moving big weight, that's a pretty much a guaranteed chance at joining one of these groups. Another thing, intelligence. Now, don't get me wrong, all people with money aren't necessarily intelligent. They've caught some breaks, they got a good connection, they've been fairly lucky, etc. Now, if you have a lot of resources and you're very intelligent, you have foresight, you have complex problem solving abilities, you can write your own ticket. And three, you have to be with the business, man. When things happen, you have to be ready to respond accordingly, whether it be a riot, whether it be a fist fight, whether you're selected to accomplish a removal, go on a mission, so to speak. You have to be willing and able to do that better than the next person. Now, one of the policy, or one of the concepts, I should say, I'm having trouble speaking. One of the concepts that I was taught, and I've talked about this before a while back, is SKP. That's superior killing power. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're just a battered killer or, a lunatic with a machine gun or something. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't necessarily mean that. Superior killing power is sort of a philosophy that was instilled to me by the person who brought me in, one James Tibbs Murado. Superior killing power is a sense of being. And what it means is you having the ability to dominate any situation and make the outcome how you want it. Could it mean a pagada? Of course. Could it mean just putting your head in the game and doing all you can to accomplish any sort of set objective? That's more so the meaning of it. And to do it without fail. You know what I mean? You write a contract with yourself in life. This is what I want to do. Any events that come through, making money, jobs, advances in whatever you want to advance in. You make that contract with yourself and you don't break it. You know what I mean? Resolve. You know what I'm saying? Those are the characteristics that these guys are looking for. There's some complicated issues that come up every now and then in that lifestyle. You know what I mean? Whether it be dealing with police, enemies, ascertaining resources, building up manpower, etc., which requires a little bit of the ability to reasonably deduct things. And so, what basically, speaking as far as, man, I'm going to go on the line to say even the gentlemen from down south are going to be similar, but I can speak with authority as far as the big homies from up north. They're looking for someone who can be an asset financially and not a liability in any form or fashion, whether it be through cowardice, whether it be through not being very intelligent, etc. I've ran across a lot of NF members throughout my history who couldn't read and write. Now, is that bad? Of course. You know what I mean? But they were older dudes from a different era that didn't place such importance on that. They were gangbanging. They were getting their money. They didn't care about none of that stuff. Does that mean they're not intelligent? Not at all. None whatsoever. That's just a small glitch in their otherwise pretty perfect resumes. Have they taught themselves to read and write? Yes, of course, mandatory. However, intelligence is measured in many different ways. You know what I mean? Like, whereas, let's say there's 10 different things you do on the streets to generate income. Some people are masters of specific activities. Others are better at others, and others are better at others. However, the type of person they're looking for is one who can integrate all those different ways of making money, make them flow like a river, nice and smooth together without interfering with each other, and more so helping them assist one another. So say you want to go out on the streets and your goal is to hustle big weight. But also they want you to do 3, 4 other little things, maybe some gambling type stuff, maybe some extortion type stuff, whatever. I'm just throwing things out there that typical criminal organizations use. Now, I might be good at hustling, but I don't know nothing about no gambling. You know what I mean? They're looking for somebody who has the ability to process the needs of all these particular sources of income and make them work together. Okay, well, we don't got money to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn this money that we use for this, pump up this thing, and to get all these things flowing. And you want to have multiple streams, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, say your connection gets popped. Oh, man, we're out of that game for a minute. How are we going to recover? We got these other things going on. So a lot of people, now don't get me wrong, I've only met a couple soft people within the organization ever. 90-something% of them, they'll handle their business when it comes to, you know, what everybody wants to be the last resort, which is going to be violence. Contrary to popular belief, prison gangs don't want violence. They don't want it on the streets. They don't want it in prison. They don't want it in the county jails. And it's not because they're intimidated. It's not because somebody's scared of getting booked or these guys might win and we might lose the war. No, what it boils down to is it's bad for business. Economics, capitalism, stacking paper. All those things are the primary goals of any group. Now, sometimes, yes, things are going to come with violence. That's just how it is. You know, there's a lot of different sharks in the water. You got your hammerheads, you got your grays, you got your tigers, etc. There's only so much to eat. You know, so if 3 different groups come up on the same meal, the dominant one's going to walk away with that. And that's where violence comes into play. You know, and it could be really, really simple too. Just words are exchanged, feelings are hurt, one person gets hit, and then it starts a never-ending cycle back and forth violence. But that's not what these groups are after. You know, violence comes with the territory, but they're after dollars. So what they look for, in my opinion, and it's what I look for as well when I was tapping into when I was trying to recruit people or, you know, to be big homies or medium homies, we call them, you know, bros, so insoles, whatever they call them nowadays. What you got to offer? You hustle out there. You own an auto shop. You do tattoos. You got a tattoo shop. Do you run girls? I mean, what do you got to bring to the table? Okay, I'm happy with that. How would you run if you were to join this group? What would you do different to make you and what you have going on beneficial to us? If I like what I hear, okay. Man, I'm a pretty good judge of character, man. I could talk to you for an hour and not know if you're with the business or not. You know, when it all comes down to it, you have to be with the business. You know, you never want to rule with fear. You know what I'm saying? But you want to be respected that you will go that extra mile when you're called upon and handle your business under any circumstances, regardless of odds, consequences, any of that kind of stuff. That's irrelevant when it comes to these groups. So, I mean, I brought in 3 people during my time, plus a handful of NR members. And there's different people for different categories. You know, not everybody is going to be made to be a category 3, category 2 NF member, regiment commander, you know, street, whatever the case might be. Not everybody's meant for leadership, but there is also room for soldados. You know what I mean? There's room for everybody. You know what I mean? Well, not everybody, but you get what I'm saying. Everybody, there's a place for everybody, right? So you come into jail, you got a little bit of money on the streets, you conduct yourself appropriately, you follow the rules, you know, they think that you're striving. The first thing that's going to catch their attention is your resources. Because I could walk in, I could be a bad son of a bitch. I'll hit anybody. Dude next to me, he ain't no punk, but he'll do what he needs to do if called upon or if the situation arises. But he's got his uncles in the cartel. Well, guess who's going to get looked at first? Him, because he is going to handle his business and he has resources. Me, I'm going to get looked at too, but I'm not going to be leadership material. I'm just, hey, somebody needs to be hit. I got it. Does that come with respect? Of course it does. But you're never going to make it. You know what I mean? It's just not likely. It's a combination of things. So the reason I'm addressing this is because I've been asked a few times, like, well, like why did they decide to mess with you? Well, a lot of mine was luck. I came in to a certain housing situation where one of the top 3 members, one of the most respected members, was running the show. He took a liking to me. I was given assignments, you know, such as essays or, you know, man, I would get complex assignments, be like, hey, Rahul, you got this, and this on the streets. How would you incorporate this and integrate it to make it all flow seamlessly? They like what I had to say. You know what I mean? The things I've done that, you know, could have got me a lot more time that I was fortunate enough not to get caught doing were verified. You know what I mean? And I didn't have the extreme amount of resources, but what I had was common sense and foresight and deduction, major deduction capabilities. Just landing next door who I landed to, that was a contributing factor. But 500 people could land next door to that same individual and not make the cut. You know what I mean? So it all depends on what a particular individual sees in you. They seen I had potential. You know, first time I got on the streets, I didn't last that long. You know, I'm sure they were disappointed. Second time out, I killed the game. You know what I mean? I got the right resources in play. I got the right manpower. I kept a real low profile, and I made it happen. You know, so it's different for all things, man. It's like who you're with, who you're related to, what you've done, what you have. There's all kinds of reasons that they'll look after you. But the main one will be resources, man. Any ballers, business owners, things like that, that they feel aren't soft, aren't no punk, aren't a liability, they're going to have action. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, man, it's every individual is different, man. So I could be next door to one, you know, really high ranking member. He just might not like me. He might think I'm an idiot. I could move and go to another pod, be there for 2 months, and end up on my way to becoming a member. You know, it's real open for individual determination, if that makes sense. So while you might have a resume 20 years long, you know, 3-4 pegadas under your belt, whatever, and you might never be asked. Whereas you might come in there 20 years old, 1 term under your belt, you know, with not a lot seemingly on your resume, and you could make the cut. So this episode was to answer that question, and it's a really tricky question, and it's a good question. Because, you know, if you got 100 members of this group, you know what I mean, that are out recruiting, looking for new blood, looking for new membership, looking for new resources, new manpower, whatever the case, each individual dude who may or may not sponsor somebody has their own particular idea in mind of how they look at the group, the organization as a whole. And if you fit their particular criteria of how they feel they would want a member to be, then you're in. So there's no right and wrong answer. There's no particular thing, but I'm going to tell you resources, being solid, and intelligence. Those are the main three factors. And that's about all I can say on it, man. So appreciate the question. There's your response. This is your boy Rojo. This is the Rojo Room, man, and I'll holler at you.